What's going on, y'all? It's LJ, and will you check out this beautiful beast, Sepultura, the Roadrunner albums 1985 to 1996, released on January 27th, and in my opinion, long overdue. This box set contains the first 6 albums from Brazil's legendary thrash titans, Sepultura. Having switched lead singers in the mid-90s, Sepultura, they're a band that divides most fans right down the middle. Not unlike Van Halen, Van Hagar. It just matters which one's your preference, or maybe both. For many, and for myself, the band's first era, this box set with Max Cavalera at the mic is the only essential Sepultura, and it's what's represented here. I couldn't wait for this one to show up at the door. It's been here since early February. It's been spun and bloody spun. From packaging to pressings, let's dig in those muddy heels and see how it all panned out. First, let's talk packaging. This is about as complex as it needs to be. A solid box, customized with album-specific logos. A phenomenal rear cover design, and a hype sticker. Simple. Album jackets are well done. They're not pixelated or blurry like many reissues seem to be these days, when graphic artists like to get a low-resolution copy of the cover, blow it way up until you can count the individual square pixels in the cover. Unacceptable. Not the case here. These are absolutely brilliant. All of them are non-gatefold covers, and they come with replica liner inserts and polylined inner sleeves. Nice touch. Overall, and apart from being on colored vinyl, which unfortunately it seems like it's become the norm these days, that's my own pet peeve. I prefer black vinyl, but apart from that, absolutely no complaints. So first you talk packaging, then you talk pressings. If you're heading into this expecting Sonic Nirvana, you will be disappointed. Because let's be honest, the earliest albums were recorded for lunch money in studios built from cement blocks, and that is the magic of them, y'all. Schizophrenia was a minor improvement, and from there forward, budgets increased and things just got naturally better. Now, apart from one massive disappointment, what you can expect here is faithful replication of source material and nice, dead quiet pressings. They really do sound great, except for one. The disappointment, unfortunately, is 1993's Chaos AD. Originally, an absolutely stinging mix. Amazing mix on that album originally. It is now completely flattened, absolutely stripped of all of its dynamic impact, its sonic punch, which was the absolute key to that album's presence. It's not unlistenable, but if you know that record, it is immediately noticeable and tremendously missed, and it alone is the Achilles heel of an otherwise amazing package. Now it's time to talk albums. From 1985 to 1986, we have Morbid Visions and Bestial Devastations. The debut EP, recorded and mixed in poverty in 2 days in 1985, and the follow-up recorded in 7 days a year later. The introduction to Sepultura that nobody outside of Belo Horizonte, Brazil would hear for another 2 years. Pissed off Brazilian teenagers, influenced heavily by Bathory and Possessed, enslaved to a new form of metal called thrash. Max Cavalera's vocals are possessed. Igor Cavalera's drumming is beyond competent for a 15-year-old. Admirable riffs from the soon-to-be-replaced Jairo, and if you can find Paulo's bass in the mix, you are an archaeologist. Rough, raw, and as dirty as the dirt floors they were recorded on, you gotta start somewhere, and you gotta give it to them for facing odds as high as a mountaintop and then climbing the damn thing without ever looking back. From 1987, here is Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is mission refine. Refine the beats, refine the leads, refine the vocals and the solos. Still a group of teenagers, but now packing Brazilian shredder and Yato replacement Andreas Kisser. they hit the studio and they laid down what is for me one of 3 hands-down desert island Sepultura classic albums. Not quite masterfully produced, and there's never been a better version or better sounding version released to this day that does the bottom end of this album and the mix any favors. But again, that's the charm of it, y'all. It's new, it's fresh, and it was Sepultura widening their reach in refusing to quit. Bumped up against the debut, Schizophrenia is infinitely more listenable and as defining a statement as Possessed, Seven Churches, or Death's Scream Bloody Gore. Phenomenal album. Next out of the gate, in 1989, came Beneath the Remains. How it's possible that this is the same band, the same group of kids that recorded Morbid Visions and Schizophrenia just a couple to few years prior is an absolute mystery. Max Cavalera's vocals now rendered almost fully to that sweet spot we all know and love. Andreas taking control, fully engulfed in a riffing fury. And Igor Cavalera, now barely 18 years old, driving a relentless drum kit attack. Written and produced to absolute perfection, slammed full of now fan favorite classic tracks. Thinking and playing as one, this was a band that Brazil could keep secret no longer. It was also my introduction to Sepultura, and I've been addicted to this album since the day it was released, and alongside follow-up Arise, Beneath the Remains is Sepultura's absolute pinnacle. Next up from 1991 came Arise. With Morbid Visions, they stared up that Brazilian mountain and they decided to climb. With Arise, the dirty and bruised knuckles pull themselves up over that final rock, and Sepultura summits the mountain. Igor Cavalera's rhythms are perfected. Cymbal crashes that shatter windshields. Tribal tones beginning to surface, and Max Cavalera's vocals now completely refined, full of restrained rage. The riff warehouse opens, calculated groove begins to leach in, Max and Andreas in full control. The title track, Dead Embryonic Cells, Desperate Cry, track after track kicks your ass. This album dominated my Walkman when it was released in 1991, my car a year later, and my turntable to this day. Calculated and executed with diamond-like precision, alongside Beneath the Remains, Arise is Sepultura perfection. 2 years after Arise, in 1993, we get Chaos AD. Excited, amped, jacked. Doesn't even begin to sum up my excitement for Chaos AD when it was released in 1993. I'd have waited in line naked in a blizzard through the night at a record shop for this. When it did come out, with cassette in hand, the first 30 seconds of the title track blew my headphones off my head. From there, though, something went wrong. Sepultura was changing again, and I missed the memo. Chaos AD is by no stretch of the imagination a bad record, but when you are heavily addicted to Arise, Beneath the Remains, and Schizophrenia, you want more. And this is either a step backwards or a step forward from those 3 albums, depending on how you look at it. The tribal rhythms no longer underpinning, no longer coloring the beats, but driving them. Industrial elements beginning to leach in, and a need to evolve undeniable. Chaos AD has some absolutely phenomenal moments, some amazing songs like the title cut and Territory. But this newer side of Sepultura left me shelving Chaos AD after a couple of months and returning to the safety net that is Beneath the Remains and Arise. 3 years later, from 1996, we get the last LP in this box set, which is Roots. This album is intense. It is a sonic explosion. While it's got some decent tracks, it's hands down my personal least favorite of the entire Max Cavalera era. Like Chaos AD, Sepultura continued to innovate, refine, and refuse to repeat anything they've done in the past. Intentionally titled, Roots is tribal percussive attacks, groove-based leads, and new vocal acrobatics from Max. It's a statement, and that statement is hometown pride. We all have it. This is theirs. That's fine, but it was with this album that I filed for divorce from Sepultura and forever held on to the safety net that is Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, and Arise. Max Cavalera left Sepultura shortly after this was released, soon to be followed by brother Igor, and to this day, both openly state that at that point, Sepultura was all done. And that is the Sepultura Roadrunner albums 1985 to 1996 box set. Now, although I already own cassettes, CDs, and original pressings and reissues of many of these albums already, picking this up for me was a way to add those couple of three that I didn't already own on vinyl to the collection pretty inexpensively. It's also a really beautifully put together package. Apart from the downright miserable mastering job on Chaos AD, this set is worth every penny, and for many, an instant collection and an introduction to what is, in my opinion, the band's best and only era worth hearing. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have one. Grab this set and arise.